Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The Oscars are tonight, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel. I previewed that yesterday in case you missed that. Looking ahead, and I know I say this every award show, Monday's episode might go out a little later. I might actually be serious this time because I have to drive to Boston and back today. Long story. So I'm not going to get home till like 10:30, 11 o'clock, so I might not be able to knock this out. I'll see how tired I am. So if the episode's late tomorrow, that's why. Okay, from late night, a couple good jokes following the State of the Union. Stephen Colbert said it was a kind of a tense night because it feels like it might be the last time we get a State of the Union, depending on what happens in November. Next year might just be a Kid Rock concert and an immigrant catapult. Wow. Colbert again, on the Democratic side, they wore white. On the Republican side, they were white. One more from Colbert. Thanks to rules giving former members of Congress floor access, George Santos attended the State of the Union. Come on, you can't go back to your old job like you never left unless you're Jon Stewart. Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel are going to hook up again on Password. Have you seen the new Password? I don't know if I have. Apparently, it's hosted by Keke Palmer, but Jimmy Fallon is a recurring player. Password's back on Tuesday. I mentioned this on Friday. After the break on Friday, I mentioned there was an item that I saw that I didn't want to talk about yet. Well, I'm ready to talk about it now because TMZ has gone with it. Quoting from TMZ, Matt Rife seems ready to take a quote-unquote comedian to court who accused him of performing a sex act to gain success, as Matt feels his rep has been harmed, TMZ has learned. Sources with direct knowledge tell us Matt and his team have been reaching out to various litigators to see what his best option might be to deal with the salacious claim made by entrepreneur Nima Yamini this week, including potentially filing a lawsuit against him. TMZ writes, in case you missed it, Nima, a self-described comedian, alleged that he and Matt were once both brought into a room with two Hollywood execs and promised fame and fortune if, stuff, which Nima said he refused, but alleged Matt stayed behind and did the deed. Matt's name started to trend as part of this allegation. That's where I saw it. TMZ writes, we're told Matt's sick of people using his name to gain clout, which is obviously how he feels about Nima here, who appears to have no serious track record in comedy. And our sources say Matt wants to stand up for himself, especially against something as outlandish as this. I will keep an eye on that one. Variety did a wax job for Netflix. I'm sure this is all from the industry giving each other pats on the back as part of South by Southwest. They quote independent artist media partner Dave Rath, who manages comedians, who said Netflix was certainly an inflection point when the specials started becoming a thing by Netflix paying some literally millions of dollars for their specials. They basically created an imbalance in the marketplace because before that, Comedy Central, HBO, and a few other places were doing the long-form specials, but they weren't paying that kind of money. Yeah, so I'll chime in. That kind of, from what I see from here in the basement, made the others, not HBO, but like Comedy Central cut back. And from what I understand from prepping this show every day, Netflix isn't paying what they used to. So it's like when a chain store comes to town, prices are great at first, the mom and pop shuts down, and then the prices go up. Caroline Hirsch, who used to own Caroline's, said COVID also proved to be a paradigm shifter. The virus forced comedy clubs all over the country to shut down, which led to an explosion of comedians. Comedians were able to build their brand on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and on podcasts. These platforms really put comedians on everybody's phone. That's what helped make these younger comedians into their own brands. Variety writes, comedians such as Sarah Cooper. Oh, I don't even have to do my bit. They did it for me. Sarah Cooper and Matt Rife rose to prominence thanks to YouTube and TikTok. Cooper gained fame for her TikTok videos lip-syncing then-President Donald Trump early in the pandemic. Get mad at them. They said it, not me. And has branched out into film and theater work. Charlie Sotelo is the senior manager of South by Southwest Comedy Festival, and Charlie says comedy festivals are so important in the landscape of stand-up comedy. They not only introduce comedians to new fans, but most importantly, they lead to new relationships that so often affect the course of a career. Robbie Praw, who oversees Netflix comedy and used to work for Just for Laughs, says, I think this is one of the best times for comedy. We're working with more than 400 comedians and selling out shows all over Los Angeles. We also see a wide range of comedians with different styles and from different backgrounds getting love on Netflix. John Leguizamo chimed in and said, I'm glad there's plenty of comedy out there and it's become more diverse, but unfortunately, Latin comedians are having to live on just TikTok and the gram, where they reach millions and millions of views. Unfortunately, Latin comedians, despite their success on social media, are not being chased by Hollywood or streamers, and that's just systemic racism that happens in Hollywood. Interesting take by John. Rath says, the best comics always surface and have success because they're funny and talented. The problem is the audience's attention span has shifted. That's the biggest issue for comedy. Interesting, huh? The New York Post talked to Kyle Kinane, They were curious about him putting out so much material. Kyle said, I have an hour that I present. When I think it's at its best, I record it and put it out. It's similar to the UK model where you're like, all right, here's this year's offering. But while that's being perfected, the new stuff is in the oven. Every weekend I'm in a club that's 4 or 5 hours on stage. It's a lot of time to take an idea and run with it. He adds, I'm trying to move away from party stories. I'm a middle-aged man, and those aren't glamorous. Bowen Yang talked about last week's hilarious sketch where he was hooking up with Sydney Sweeney. Bowen said, obviously we were doing a lot of intimate, intense stuff, so I did one last check-in with her. I was like, whatever you're not comfortable with, you can change your mind at any time. And she touched my shoulder and she was like, Bowen, I'm on Euphoria. It's fine. I'm used to this. Bowen said, she's such a professional. If you're in Philly today, 8 p.m., it's One-Liner Madness, a comedy competition putting 64 local comedians in a bracket. The rules are simple. 2 comedians go on stage. Each will deliver a one-liner joke. Based on audience responses, only one comedian will advance, and then they have to have a new one-liner in the next round. The competition goes on until one comedian remains. Apparently, the competition is fast and brutal, one of the organizers says. Sometimes heavy hitters get knocked out early. It's part of the fun. One-Liner Madness. Doors open at 7, shows at 8, $15 at Johnny Brenda's, 1201 Frankfurt Avenue, Philly. Today at South by Southwest at 4 o'clock, it's Permission to Laugh, using comedy as a force for good, parentheses, live comedy event. Join Comic Relief US, a nonprofit that harnesses the power of entertainment, etc., etc. Comedian and host Tone Bell in a candid discussion with comedian and author Paul Scheer. And Daily Show correspondent comedian Dulce Sloan. 6 o'clock, Improv for Humans, parentheses, live comedy. Matt Besser, John Gabers, Chris Gethard, Vic Michaelis. 7 o'clock, Vanessa 5000, parentheses, live comedy event. After sold-out runs in Edinburgh, London, and L.A., Courtney Peruso, the ultimate sexy clown, comes to South by as sex robot Vanessa 5000, who over the course of her product demonstration grows increasingly conflicted about technology and her own existence. That sounds like a great show. 7:30, Stand Up at the Strip, parentheses, say with me, stand-up comedy. Oh yeah, this is the one with the AI audience image. Joe DeRosa, Napoleon Emile, Luisa O'Milan. 8 o'clock tonight at the Improv, parentheses, stand-up comedy. Rick Glassman, Annie Lederman, Pete Lee, Beth Stelling. 9 o'clock, Stand Up Downtown, parentheses, stand-up comedy. Another AI-generated crowd image. Okay, James Adomian, Aaron Jackson, Lynn Coplitz, Rich Voss. See, that's tough for me because I'd be like, ooh, James Adomian, but I'm like, Rich Voss. 10 o'clock, Riffs and Riffraff with Nick Thune and friends. The friends are Chris Fleming, Andre Highland, Christina Catherine Martinez, Paul Scheer, and Nick Thune. See, that's a winner for me. That's a great lineup. 11 o'clock, Stamptown, parentheses, live comedy. A raunchy, chaotic, full-on fever dream. Stamptown is 90 minutes of pure spectacle. Christina Catherine Martinez, Natalie Palamides, Courtney Peruso, and some others. That's a pretty solid night. And Drew Carey was in this week's People magazine and talked about being offered The Price is Right back in 2007. He told people, I said, F no, I just want to be able to do things that were fun and interesting instead of having a job or something I had to do every day. Because I just had, after being on the Drew Carey show and everything, I was done with the idea of being on a show forever. But he was eager to buy a Major League Soccer team, or at least become part owner of one. Drew said, I knew how much money it was going to take for that to happen, and one of the show's producers asked me what my favorite thing to do was. I love leaving big tips when I go to restaurants. The guy said, well, if you work on The Price is Right, you'll be able to do that all the time for a living. Just give out things. Drew said, that was the light bulb that went off in my head. I could just make a living giving prizes to people and being around happy people all day. I met my agent at a steakhouse, and I go, I think I want to be the host of The Price is Right. And he shook my hand, and he goes, well, there's your soccer money. And there's your comedy news for today. If you enjoy the program, tell a friend about it. They might like it too. Share it on social media. It'll help grow the show. Much appreciated. All right. See you tomorrow, either on time or around 8 a.m. Eastern. Later.